Fish Stripes Live back with another series. Marlins versus Braves. 7:20 starting time for the game. Pablo Lopez versus Drew Smiley. My name is Kevin Barral. We are here with Eli Sussman and John from the All Marlins Instagram page. John, how are you, man?
I'm doing good, dude. Glad to be here.
Yeah, today's maybe one of the most important series that could for sure alter the season and the way that the Marlins are going to be thinking. The new era for the winning mentality that Don Mattingly has brought. Split the series versus the Phillies, postponed the third game. The Marlins lost the first one 3-4, and they won the next one 11-6. We're for sure going to recap that series first. What did you think about the two games that we saw? And I think the biggest story could be Joe Panic, but I mean the Marlins offense for sure lit it up at the second game mainly.
Yeah, Starling Marte went 4 for 4 in that game. That's always something you need. I feel like
Yeah.
every time Marte contributes in the offense, we always make a splash. Uh, Panic was a big surprise for a lot because
Yeah.
the trade and all that buzz going on. I like to see buzz. I like to see Panic going out there and first at bat home run. What was he, like the seventh player to do it in his first at bat?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, that's really impressive. And then he broke the tie in the later innings against the Phillies. So
Yeah.
you just love to see stuff like that.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was a great series. The Marlins offense, you saw that the Marlins are down. They immediately come back and and they get 11 runs out of it. So if we get that Miami Marlins offense every day, I'll be extremely happy. And Alex Carver joining us right here. Marlins will lose the first one. They win the second one. Third one's postponed. What did you think about the Phillies series, which we are recapping right now?
Yeah, it's good to get the second one for sure. They after Trevor's start, they couldn't get it done obviously, and then they just explode on offense and get to Aaron Nola. So that's good to see. They took advantage of a pitcher who's pretty good and has done pretty good against them in the past. Yeah, so good to see. Hopefully they can build off of it. I was hoping they could build off it the next day, but of course that doesn't happen, and now you have to play
Yeah.
a doubleheader coming out of the All-Star break, which we'll see how that goes. But yeah, good to get that one though for sure, and they'll see if they could build on it tonight against Atlanta.
Yeah, and so now that game was postponed, fun fact, the Marlins cannot finish over 500 or at 500 before the All-Star break. If they win each game, they'll, which they won't, but there'll be one game under 500 or a couple games if they lose a couple games. But today we're going to preview the Marlins versus Braves series, maybe the most important series. I do say this all the times, the Marlins tend to play well against the Braves, especially this season. What do you guys think about the Braves overall? We're going to start with Alex.
Yeah, it's always high tension whenever the Marlins play the Braves. It's a good team. It's the class of the division. I know that they're not in first right now, but probably have the most talent as a whole for any one team in the division, and it's going to be like that probably for the foreseeable future. I mean, we'll see what happens with the Marlins, but yeah, I mean, it's the most talented team overall in the division. I think. I just think they got screwed by injuries and other circumstances with some of their players just being stupid earlier in the season. So yeah, it's I guess a better time to face them than it would have been like last year or early this season. So we'll see what they do. It's always fun to go against the Braves and the jabs back and forth on Twitter with their fans and everything. So I always like playing them, but we are in their park, and that is what it is. So we'll see how it goes. But how do they match up? I mean, honestly, I think if you look at it like just on paper and you look at what's at the top of their lineup, it's tough. But yeah, I mean, they got there are some established starters going obviously in this series. So we'll see how it goes. I like how Thompson threw. He's going to throw in this series. Pablo gets pushed back a day for that. So yeah. See if Thompson can build off that last start, which was amazing. And then we'll see what happens also tonight and the next day as well. So
yeah,
I think it's a better time to face them now than it would have been maybe earlier this season. That's the answer.
And just to say, the top five of this order is incredible. Ronald Acuna, Freddie Freeman, Aussie Albies, Austin Riley, and Dansby Swanson. John, thoughts on the Braves in this series going into it?
I 100% completely agree with Alex, especially in the sense that they were beat up by injuries and haven't been playing above 500 as everybody expected, but you can never sleep on them. They are a team who could find a gap somewhere and attack. I gotta say I love the little like hype between Jazz and Acuna. I think that's like amazing, not only for the sport, for the division. It builds up, hype between the two teams. I think it's wonderful that you see some interaction between teams, and it's not just go out and play, have some fun out there. The Braves are a fun team, a lot of talent. I would say the same for us. One is a bit more developed, I would say. The other is getting there. Um, I think the Braves. Well, we all know last year the Braves had our number, but
Yeah,
this year, hey, we're coming out without a fight. We want revenge. We want
yeah.
revenge. Let's take the series.
Yeah, and the Marlins have gotten revenge. The first time they met the Braves in Atlanta, they took, if I'm correct, 3 out of 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they played extremely well. And then the next time they took 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
So the Marlins for sure have had, the number on the Braves this season, and they could do that tonight once again, coming into a 3-game set. The Braves currently are 39-41. They're just 3.5 games out of the first place in the division, which obviously the Mets hold right now. And the Marlins, sadly, are in last place, 34 wins, 45 losses. They are 8 games out of the first spot in the division. Tonight we have Pablo. I do want to ask you both. I mean, what effect does, pushing back Pablo help the Marlins? How does it benefit them? It gives them an extra day of rest, I would assume. But, in another context, how would it help them? I want to start with Alex.
Yeah, it's just I think it was just a day for Pablo, an extra day of rest, which for an established starter, I think it's a good thing. For a prospect and a guy like a younger kid, I don't really like it, but for an established guy like that to get him an extra day once in a while, that's great. It's maintenance. It's something that you'll probably see a little bit more of maybe in a season like this where we're coming off of a canceled year. So, yeah, a good thing there. Pablo gets an extra day just to evaluate and prepare for Atlanta. So, yeah. Especially with the weather and stuff that we had too, maybe that factored into the equation in Philadelphia. I don't know, but yeah, I think it's just maintenance and something that will happen with veteran starters, like I said, especially this year. So could benefit him. We'll see what happens. I liked how he was going after that rough start. Couple starts back where he was not good, but got knocked around. But been good since then, and now he gets Atlanta and. It's another tough test for him, but I mean, like I always say about him, I'm not ever going to bet against Pablo Lopez because guy's got great stuff. He's a great guy. So yeah, I think he could keep it rolling here in this game. I won't bet against him for sure.
Yeah. What do you think, John?
I side with you there. I know a lot of people make the point that in his career Pablo doesn't really perform that well in Atlanta. He does have a 9.43 ERA, but I don't really look at those type of splits because things easily change. He's a much more I would say developed pitcher. He has better stuff. He's been having way more consistent starts. I feel like if he continues it rolling, he's gonna have a good time tonight in Atlanta. I feel like a guy like him, if the bats stay hot, if you give up a couple runs, whatever. But if the bats are there to back you up, he's gonna be fine. I completely 100% trust this guy. He's established really well.
I wanted to hop in there on Pablo just because. So he's pitched in Atlanta. I think it's either 5 or 6 times. And, most people remember the 29-9 game, but the first one that I remember was the last game they played in Atlanta last year, which was right on the verge of the team clinching a playoff spot. And they're playing through the rain. I think the game actually started in a delay. And Pablo, he only went 5 innings just because the game was so close and they needed to go to their pen and they need to do everything possible to preserve that. But the most important pressure packed game that he pitched in Atlanta in his career, he stepped up and did the job.
Yeah, Pablo's a stud. 4-4 record. He did not have the best record, but lately it's been phenomenal, especially with the run support he's been getting, which is maybe the biggest reason why Pablo, you would be saying he wasn't having success, which he was. He was having success, but he did not have support from the bullpen. He did not have any run support at the start of the season. Now it looks like there's no run support for Sandy, and there is for Pablo. Pablo now has a record of 4-4 and a 2.87 ERA, which is a lot better than what it was at the beginning of the season. Pablo does not tend to play well in Atlanta, but as Eli said the last time, it was a big time game, like the one they were on the verge of clinching the playoff berth. He came in and he pitched 5 innings, helped the team get the win. Looking at the lineup tonight for the Marlins, it's Jazz Chisholm, Starlin Marte, Garrett Cooper, Adam Duvall, Jesus Aguilar, Miguel Rojas, Jorge Alfaro, John Birdie, Pablo Lopez. I don't see Joe Panic in the lineup. It was a little bit iffy about it. I would have put him maybe another day, but I do understand he did get traded and he needed to get his rest time as well. So what do you guys think about the lineup tonight, starting with John?
I like it. I know I saw a tweet out there. I think it was by Alex. He pointed out that Jesus Sanchez, finally doesn't have a day where he has played at least every single game of his major league career this season. In for the Marlins, he's having the day off. Personally,
I think that was my tweet. Give me credit.
Oh, was it you? Oh, well, yeah. I think the lineup today is really good without having Jesus. I could see maybe a couple runs being scored tonight. Hopefully, Pablo is on the mound, and as you mentioned, Sandy is the guy that we just can't score. But I do see good fortune in this lineup tonight.
Yeah, what do you think, Alex, about the lineup?
Yeah, it's righty heavy. You're going against lefty and Smiley. You got a lefty at the top of the lineup with Jazz. So I guess this was the spot, as Eli said on Twitter, to get him a day off going against the lefty. So yeah, it kind of expected there with Jesus getting the day. So it's Mattingly playing the matchups. He's that classic righty lefty guy, and you see it again right here. So that's what it is. It's not bad. I agree with it. In a case like this, division game, he's going to play splits. So that's the strategy, I guess, that you could explain it as. It's just your regular established guys in there. Otherwise, as you said about Panic, he did play, what was that, last game? And then, it kind of gets off his rhythm a little bit there, maybe with the rain out. So yeah, I guess this is just a spot for Birdie. And you're probably going to see that. You're probably going to see them interchange just like this. So yeah, it is what it is. We'll see how it goes. And but yeah, it's just that matchups by Mattingly. That's what it is.
Yeah, and Mattingly did say that Panic won't be that super utility guy, if I'm correct. He said that. So, we'll be seeing a lot of Panic in the at least third base for now, maybe second base when a couple other guys take a break. And yeah, the only other lefty in the lineup is Pablo tonight. So they're completely going righty heavy with sides Jazz and Pablo, I guess. Looking at the Braves lineup, it's a scary lineup. It's a lot better than what we saw last time for sure, especially at the beginning of the season in Atlanta. I mean, this team for sure got screwed over by injuries, so we didn't see every single player. But I mean, just looking at the top five, it's scary. But I'll still name the rest of the lineup. You have Ronald Acuna, Freddie Freeman, Ozzie Albies, Austin Riley, Dansby Swanson, Guillermo Herrera, Abraham Almonte, William Contreras, and Drew Smiley. I mean, what are your thoughts on the lineup tonight, Alex, for the Braves?
Yeah, top five is what it is. I mean, those are some of the best hitters in baseball. Riley's a young stud. I really like him. He's hitting 280. He's already got 14 bombs, and of course Acuna, Freeman, Albies. I also just looking at Guillermo Heredia, who's basically taking over. I guess I would say probably for Ozuna, who's of course out with his stupidity that he committed. He's been pretty good for them in 153 at bats. He's hitting 281 in center field, 845 OPS. So the lineup doesn't quit, man. It's really good. There's really not a lot of holes in it. And, it's, if you want to look at it righty lefty, there's a ton of righties in it. The only one lefty is Freddie Freeman. And then of course, Smiley's pitcher spot, but yeah, it's a tough lineup for Pablo. It's like I said before, it's going to be a good test for him. So we'll see how he does. We'll see how that extra day pays off. And yeah, it's going to be a tough game though. It's a true test for any pitcher, Pablo, Sandy, no matter who it is. So.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, John? Tough lineup.
It is a top heavy five. I will say that. I remember around opening day, around April, when we first played them in that 4-game set, Austin Riley wasn't necessarily in the hot streak and the tear that he later went into. Now he's a completely different player. So those at bats are going to be quite interesting, especially for Pablo. It's not that quick, easy out that he was in April. So it's a new test for him, especially in that top, top five heavy. You did make a good point on Heredia filling in for Ozuna. He's doing pretty good. Especially that game. I think it was that last time that we played Atlanta. There was a game where Heredia kind of screwed us over in I think it was an RBI double or something. But that Braves lineup, It's pretty tricky, but like I said, I have complete confidence in Pablo. This guy's gonna do it, and you might see another RBI double, or an RBI double by Pablo Lopez, like he did.
Yeah, yeah. I
The
trust
team
him
hits
more.
bombs. If you look at it, just like the team hits a lot of home runs. The Atlanta
Yes, they
Braves, those
do.
top 5 hitters, they all each have at least 13 homers. So yeah, keeping the ball in the park, got to keep the ball down. Pablo's really good at that. He gets those ground balls and those quick outs. So yeah, see if he can do it tonight. Definitely, we'll look at where he is command wise, especially early on. That'll probably paint the picture for the rest of the start.
Yeah, yeah. And, another name in this lineup is William Contreras, the catcher. He's been having a pretty good season himself, 277 homers. And I know he does have family ties with Wilson Contreras. So, 2 great catchers. I mean, one up and coming, but the other one's already solidified himself as the top 5 catcher in the league, and 21 RBIs. And now that I think of Wilson Contreras, I want to talk a little bit about the All-Star voting that no Marlins players made it. I think it's a surprise. It's not a surprise for some, but for many it is, thinking what a season Aguilar has had. Chisholm, I don't think Chisholm was going to get in, but, you look at Marte and maybe Trevor gets in now or Sandy. But, what are your initial thoughts on the All-Star voting, John?
Many people know me by this. I've never been a real advocate for, All-Star game voting. I do think that if a player's going to make an All-Star game, you're going to deserve it. But I do understand the fan aspect. You want to get fans involved. You want to, bring in their takes and whatnot. But, come on, Starling Marte, the guy was tearing it up. People can make the argument, he had an injury, whatever. But when he came back, he carried this team. We were on a tough.
Better.
Yeah, he did. He was helping us win games, and he still is. He's the same product. He's consistent. I call him Mr. Consistent. That's Marte's nickname for me. Aguilar was also in one heck of a tear. I think he could get back to it quickly. I knew Chisholm wasn't gonna make it. I do think Trevor and maybe Sandy makes it. For sure, Trevor. I do think Trevor makes the cut. But yeah, I've just never been a real big advocate for voting. However, yes, I think this year's representative for Miami is going to be Trevor.
Yeah, what do you think, Alex?
You're breaking Eli's heart, John, because Eli's all about the All-Star voting. He was trying to rally the fan base a little bit, right? Eli?
I kind of not really. I was kind of actually being like, kind of doing the opposite, kind of just like teasing the system with all the write-in votes I was giving to Harold Ramirez and to John Birdie. I think I even gave a couple to Jose Devers just to acknowledge the big milestone in his career. It's a lot of fun that they now let you write in just about anybody you want to.
No, you actually made a good point there, Eli, because I remember a couple weeks ago we were talking about write-in votes, and you do make a good point when you mention write-in votes do give players a sense of motivation and a good a good way to move forward. Like, let's say they're cold and they're like, oh crap, someone voted for me. I'm gonna go out there and play my hardest. People actually support me in a sense. I do think it's an actual good idea. It may sound stupid to some, but believe it or not, every single vote counts to a player. It means a whole lot.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're getting push alerts every time that somebody votes for them online, but that stuff is counted. I think they do count, every single vote that every player gets. And I think they have access, or maybe their agents, have access to how many votes they get. I like that part. It's fun, even though, ultimately it doesn't move the needle. But yeah, there are parts of the system that I think are fun.
That should come up in arbitration discussions. Yeah, I got 10 All-Star votes from Eli Sussman in New York. The All-Star voting. It is what it is. It's always been this way since fan voting became a thing, I guess. Whatever. We're the Marlins. People outside of our fan base aren't going to vote for us. It doesn't matter if the guy is OPSing 1,000 that he could miss the All-Star game just because.
Remember how much of a pain it was
fans are going to vote
JT?
for their guys. They're going to vote for their team's players. Cubs, of course, Yankees are always going to be there. Whereas a Yankees player could be OPSing 500 and he's still going to get votes just because he's on the Yankees. So It's a popularity contest. Don't take it to heart. Somebody, of course, will make it for the Marlins, and I think it probably will be a pitcher, and most likely Trevor Rogers. Sandy, you can make a case for. Pablo, you can make a case for outside of that. Maybe one or two tough starts, but Yeah, one of those guys will go. I think it will just be one. And if it is just going to be one, I think it'll be Trevor.
Yeah, it sucks that Starling didn't make it. I think he deserved it a lot, especially after coming back from an injury for such a long time. And I will say, this All-Star voting really does have me. It's a little bit biased because Mike Trout's in it. He's injured. He's barely played the season. I will say he shouldn't be in there, but you could go burn me on Twitter later that I said that because he should not be a starter for the All-Star game. At least bench him, But it's whatever. It's the All-Star game. And and I do think Trevor will make it. So yeah, that's it on that. Eli, what else do you think we should be touching on this for the series?
I had a fun idea that outside of Ronald Acuna Jr., because if you could steal one Braves player on their entire roster and add him to the Marlins, just get away with it. But only one player, and you can't be Acuna because he's so far and beyond all these other guys in terms of overall talent. Which of these Braves players are you like love the most? Do you think would actually fit the best with the Marlins organization right now and make them better either now or in the long term?
Man, I'm going Austin Riley. It's not Aussie Albies, but makes sense. Anderson's out right now. I know it's another third baseman on the roster, but they need depth. So having Birdie and what's this other guy, Panic, on the bench would for sure help them. Some utility players. And Austin Riley's having a great season. I mean, it would just make all sense in the world. Young guy. You could have him for this year and for a long time to come. There's some other names in there that I do like. William Contreras, for sure, a catcher that you could build off of. You also have Aussie Albies. This is such a good lineup. But if I had to make a choice right now, probably Austin Riley, even though I just noticed Freddie Freeman's in there. But, that would be another pretty good option.
I'm going Freddie Freeman. I think he, as a guy who career-wise has had one of the best numbers against the Marlins, it's good to just not have that present anymore and have it in your side. I know you do have Aguilar. Aguilar is a great clubhouse guy. He's
I'm
the
going
party
Freeman
man
over him, yeah.
but yes, obviously Freeman over Aggie. Let Freeman settle in a bit, and then eventually bring in Lewin Diaz. I think I do think Freddie Freeman is just my pick there, but I do like your pick with Riley because of Anderson, and I do think that Birdie should be on the bench and sub for any other guy who needs a day off. I do think playing third base consistently kind of hurts his utility role, even though I don't really think it does. But it's good to see Birdie playing other positions, so he kind of still has the ability to do everything as he does.
Yeah. Who do you go with, Alex? You're muted. Alex, you're muted.
My bad. I'm just muted because of the thunder outside. Is crazy here right now. Anyways, I'm gonna go with Aussie Albies. And this is based off of a need. The Marlins do have a lot of middle infielders in the system, but they're all distant. You look at like Jose Salas, Ian Lewis, guys like that. They're there, but they're far away. At least like 3, 4, maybe even 5 years. No, 4. I would say about 4 years max. So yeah, Albies, switch hitter, 5-tool guy. He's got a 2.3 WAR right now. Hitting bombs, both sides of the plate, good average, good OPS. Yeah, speed too. He's got 12 steals. So yeah, good defense as well. So I would take Albies and have him gap bridge to those other middle infielders that are coming up in the system. And maybe if you had him, you could deal from some of that, maybe in trades for some other stuff that you need. Because we do have a bunch of them. They're just far away right now.
I like that.
Eli, who would you go with? I know you're in there.
Yeah, well, I just adjusted the microphone volume on my end for Fiota Travieso, who pointed out that my microphone was too loud. So I hope this is not as obnoxiously loud. Yeah, I was between either Freddie Freeman or Aussie Albies. I mean, Freeman just won the MVP last year. So regardless of what's going on this year, I don't think, given his track record before that, it's pretty awesome. In terms of actually like fitting with the Marlins, the challenge with Aussie Albies is he's like a second base only guy. He's a great second baseman, but being limited at that position and not having, the same offensive track record as Freddie Freeman, I don't know. It's tough though, because I love watching Aussie Albies play. He gets overshadowed by Acuna. That's kind of why I left Acuna out of this conversation in the first place, because if you just focus on Aussie Albies, he'd be right up there with Starling right now as like the best all-around player on the Marlins. He is that good. He is a legit all-star caliber guy in his own right. So I might even lean towards Ozzie just because of how young he is and all the things he does to impact the game.
Yeah, man.
I
Aussie's
could
a
have sworn
stud.
that Eli was going to go with a Grant Dayton reunion and his 6.23 ERA and 13 pitch. That would have been a good pick.
Yeah, well, we shouldn't also like overlook all the pitchers that they have. Tough luck with Mike Soroka, where he's essentially losing a second season due to Achilles injury. But Max Fried, for most of the last 2 years, Max Fried's been pretty great. He got off to a slow start this year, but in 2020 and since he came back from his first injury here in 2021, Max Fried's pretty good. I mean, he's probably only the fourth starter on the Marlins, just because the Marlins have like it's an embarrassment of riches in those top three. But Max Fried's a pretty big impact guy who's also, I think, only 27 years old.
Yeah. Max Fried's
Noah
a great
too,
player.
before he lost his mind and broke his hands, was doing really well for them as well on the pitching side. And then they have some nice pitching prospects as well. One that I really like, he's getting older, but one that I like is a local guy with Tuki Toussaint, who went to school here in Coral Springs and grew up in Pembroke Pines. So, I mean, they have pieces for sure. Past the guys that they already have, they have pieces as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of All-Star, I'm going to talk about that. Max Meyer went to is it called the Futures game still, I'm pretty sure?
Yes.
Alex?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, so Max Meyer goes there. What are your thoughts on that? I think he deserved it. He was having a great season for the Wahoos, if I'm correct.
I mean, the only thing you could say is that Jake Eater didn't go, and he should have gone for sure.
Yeah.
I should have mentioned that.
So, yeah. But yeah, great for Max. I mean, if they were only going to pick one, Max is, I guess, the bigger name coming out of the draft. He's the higher pick. Where Eater's a fourth-round pick. But, I mean, they both deserve it. You can make a case for Eddie, too, but Eddie just got back. So,
yeah,
those three guys are doing special things right now. The Pensacola Blue Wahoos, and will do special things in the future for the Marlins. So, three names to really, really keep an eye on. So, happy for Max, and I'll be excited to see him pitch against some of those top prospects in the Futures game.
Yeah, what are your thoughts, John?
I'm hyped for him. He deserved it. Ever since he got drafted, everybody had a big thing going on for Max. I loved that pick that we got. I did want Eater in it because wow, that guy was just blowing people's minds away with his performances for the Wahoos. But yes, Meyer for sure 100% deserves that spot. He's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and Alex, can you give us a quick update on the Miami Marlins minor league system, since I know a lot's been going on, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I was actually just talking to Eli about this before we came on. We were talking about Luis Palacios, who just started with Jupiter today for his first time back. That's a lower down guy, but he was doing really, really well earlier in his career, and now he's finally got assigned to the Hammerheads. So I'm excited to see him back. That's at the forefront of my mind right now. He didn't do well today, but I think he could attribute it to rust. He hasn't pitched since like August of 2019. So that's good to see him back. The FCL started, so we could talk about guys like Salas and Lewis, who I mentioned before. There's other guys there as well. Brady Encarnacion, who's in top 30 lists, is pitching there. They got nice outfielders too. Yandel Paulino is a guy I really like. So these lower down kids are cool to follow because of what's happening down there right now. And then the upper levels, we talked about Pensacola, which is a ridiculous team. The thing that you would look at as a negative, I know a lot of people have been making noise about this on Twitter, is about JJ Bleday. And he's hitting like, I think sub 200 right now, which I mean, that I look at honestly, guys, and I say, you know what, these guys are right out of a draft and it's going to be up and down. And just because you're a top pick, obviously Bleday got in a little bit of time in in the seasons previous with the Hammerheads in 2019. And of course in spring training, but you have the long layoff. These guys were struggling to keep, themselves right, throwing against nets and hitting against tees and all these things that we talk about. And now here they are back, playing at the highest level that they've ever played at against the toughest stuff they've ever faced. And it's an adjustment period. And, you could say, oh, well, yeah, it's 2 months into the season and he's still struggling. True. But it's going to take guys a little bit longer than others to come out and show their skill. But there's no reason to be worried about JJ Bleday. So anybody that's posting that, just stop. Yes. There you go. Everything. I think you guys all agree. JJ's going to be fine. And then the AAA level is getting healthier. I mean, that's cool. You see Brian Navarreto come back. Brinson went down with an injury, but they got Bryson Brigman back, and Eli's now off the hook of his fish grapes. interview curse, because every time he interviews Eli, please don't interview Troy Johnson because I don't want him to get hurt. I'm just kidding. Anyways, Bryson's back, so that level's getting healthier. So yeah, there's good stuff up and down the system, man. Tons to watch.
And I mean, on the same note, Joe Dunand is like finishing up his rehab. Just played today.
You're off the hook for now, bro.
Yeah, on both cases, both Bregman and with Joe, because I was worried about Joe. I mean, didn't they? I think he underwent surgery on that thumb. I don't know. It was almost a 2-month absence either way.
Mm-hmm.
So I was worried that he might be out.
From what I heard,
I thought he might be out. I thought he might be out even longer, but it seems like he's on the verge of getting back there to AAA, and we'll see. Because we talked about the Joe Panic trade on the last stream and just touched on it on this stream as well, that if Panic is a guy that does really well this month and the Marlins maybe flip him at the deadline to get even more than they, it took to acquire him in the first place, then that opens up some playing time in the infield, even with BA, assuming that he'll be healthy by then, that Joe could still make it to the majors at some point this year. That's what I'm really looking forward to. I'm probably going to try to put together an article of all the things I'm looking forward to in the second half of the year, and that one's definitely one of them.
Yeah. And quick injury update. Sixto is throwing from 120 feet, if I'm correct. Dunan's almost back. Anderson's doing some soft toss. So, those are some positives for sure. What are your thoughts on that, starting with John?
I like to see, BA already starting to make progress coming back. I really want to see BA's presence in a Marlins uniform again. Yeah, I miss it. He's the guy. But Sixto, he's been a question with every Marlins fan. I often tell them, just be patient. This top 3 is insane. Let it wait out. It'll play out. Sixto will be back up. It'll be fine. I know we're not playing as most people expected, whatever. But let Sixto, come back and take his time. Whatever the front office thinks is best for him, let them do it. But by the way, I want to trace back a little bit to the previous one. Little special shout out to Griffin Conine, 19 homers already.
Yeah.
He's tearing it up. Tearing it up. Little shout out there to Mr. Marlin Jr.
Yeah. Yeah, and also another news, Potita as always on 10-day. We have Eliezer. It says 60-day. I'm not sure if that's correct, but it says he was clear to resume light tossing and range of motion work. Edward Cabrera, he's in Pensacola. Costano says 10-day IL. So those are some injuries for sure to stay on. Now it says Jorge Guzman will begin rehab assignment at AAA New Orleans. So
he already started that trip. Rehab
a couple
of nights ago, and it started off pretty well, and then it kind of went south pretty bad. But he'll be there for a little while, and they have an interesting decision to make on him because I think this is going to be his final option year if they decide to use it. For the moment, he's on the 60-day IL, as you said, and they seem to be getting him stretched out as a starter, although he had enough concerns as a reliever in a very brief look last year. So I don't know. For people that don't know, Guzman came in the Stanton trade, and him along with Devers and Starling Castro, and
Cooper.
Well, no, that was a separate deal with the Yankees.
Yeah, that was a separate deal, wasn't it?
Yeah. So with Guzman, that's going to be an interesting one to watch because they need to fit him back on the 40-man roster somehow once he comes off the IL. Great fastball, decent slider with him, and then kind of everything else is a big question mark.
I don't think they can make that same mistake that they're making with Jordan Holloway. I think Jordan Holloway should not be a starter anymore, and Guzman has now missed all this time. He was starting to throw a third pitch changeup, but then he went down, and now he's missed all this time, and he's just focused on building back up. So if you're going to get anything out of him, as Eli just said, I really don't think they can put him in the rotation. I know the Marlins need starters, and that's where the need is, but I think it'd be a mistake. He really does only have 2 pitches. So.
Yeah, and quick on Holloway. He's not a starter. He doesn't have. I don't think he should be a starter in my opinion. He does well in the bullpen. He doesn't have many pitches to show off as a starter. I don't know what you think, John, but Holloway's time as a starter, I think it's come to an end, in my opinion, at least.
I think in the resurgence of needing starters, a guy I want to point out is Zach Thompson. Wow, impressive stuff from Zach Thompson. Again, a guy like Poteet. People, they weren't highly touted, but they came out and did their thing, and they're doing it pretty good. But yeah, Holloway, I do 100% agree that he is a bullpen guy. I think he needs to go back to that pen.
And he was doing well at the pen too. He was
Oh, yeah.
he was solid. Yeah, it wasn't like you ruin a game or nothing like that. But yeah, Holloway should be in the bullpen right now, especially since the Marlins need bullpen help. So yeah, anything else, Eli, we should mention?
That's actually perfect into a topic that I was thinking about before this is who we trust most in the bullpen right now, because you know what my answer would have been for very, very recently would have been Anthony Bender, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the wrong one. There it is. It would have been Anthony Bender, who until just a few days ago had still a 0.00 ERA. But he struggled his last time out, and noticeable that his spin rate has been down a few outings now ever since that sticky stuff checks went into effect. That he's not getting the same movement on his slider that he used to get, and he's not getting as many swings and misses as he used to get. So I love him, and I still have some confidence in him being very good. But with him being that obvious guy that is now coming off a bad outing, and they traded Simber. Not that Simber was at the top of the chain anyway, but he's been traded. And we know about Yimi and Floro, who at times have been great this year, but not so much over the last month or so. So Kevin, from you, which individual reliever on this team right now do you trust the most? Because this is a very, very important series for the Marlins. In the tweet that went out of Fish Stripes, it says a must-win series, at least 2 out of 3. And if you're going to beat the Braves 2 out of 3 or sweep them, there's going to be at least one close game going on there. Which reliever right now do you feel most confident in the current pen?
It's hard because Yimi's been, he started off so good. He was so good at the start of the season, and he's just been declining little by little, I would say, blowing a couple saves. Bass, I'm not going to go Bass. I know I love the guy. We speak for,
he's improved.
I know, yeah. He's been working a lot. He's been telling me, but, I would like to say Blyer, but Blyer's been, he doesn't consistently start. So if I had to say someone right now, I'm just going to go Bass. I would trust the most right now, especially in the 8th inning mainly. That's where they've been putting him. So I'm going to go Bass for now. Just for now.
Wow.
I want to say Bender, but, it's difficult to say Bender when he's been struggling lately. Even though it's only been, his ERA just went up the other day. But what are your who do you think, John?
Oh,
It's hard.
I've always been a huge Bender guy. Everybody knows me by Bender Mania because Eli started that.
Yes, no, but you've been with me kind of the entire way. So
yes.
Bender,
I've chatted with the guy. What a great guy. But he struggled a bit. He did give up the streak. I was really rooting for him to go get Brad Ziegler's was it 38, 39? I think it was 39.
Yeah, it still was a little while away from that, but still one of the best ever to start a career. So
I think it's fifth all time, something like that. But right now, though, in a must-win series, I'm not going Bender. I might go because Yimi has been up and down. I noticed the beginning of the season, Yimi was the guy who came out in the 10th inning against the Braves. Remember those games? Those were crazy games. He will close.
He was lights out.
Yes, he was. And Floro, he was also up and down. I'm taking Bass. I do think Bass is the guy right now.
Who do you think?
This will be a last for me, and then I gotta hop off. But
right.
I mean, I know he hasn't thrown a lot, in comparison to those other guys, but I'll go Blyer. Blyer, if you look at the numbers, he's only thrown 7 innings this month, but he has 20 ground balls. And you compare that with his first month of the season, 11 innings and only 18 ground balls. So clearly he's finding his control again. He's got a 0.9 whip. He's allowed just 1 earned run this month in those 7 innings. And then if you want to go back further than that, he's allowed just 2, and it looks like his last 12 or 13 innings pitched, just quickly looking at it. So, yeah, I mean, probably not the best guy in spring training. I thought he really had not a great spring training. He was giving up some bombs. And then earlier this year, he struggled a little bit too. But looks like he's found his ground ball stuff again, man. And it's a guy that just eats innings and gets ground balls. He's not going to overpower you or be a huge guy on the stat sheet. But man, when you think about Richard Blyer, just look at the ground balls, and that's what you want out of the bullpen is guys that can just record outs. So yeah, I'll go Blyer and say just because of the ground ball stuff is back. But yeah, I gotta go, guys. Enjoy the games. I will talk to you guys again on the next one.
Take it easy.
See you in the next one, man. And I do want to say, Blyer I was so close to saying Blyer because Blyer did have that one game against the Mets where Bass, he filled up the bases loaded, and he just struck out the side. That's the moment I'll 100%
Oh
remember.
yeah, that game.
From Richard Blyer. He's the guy I do trust in the high leverage situations that they've been putting that they tried Bender in. So yeah, Eli, anything else we should cover here?
I mean, I agree with Alex on that on Blyer, and what concerns me is that I think he's really likely to get traded. Well, when we bring him up, we also need to at least mention Ross Detweiler, who has been super quietly having a good year.
Yeah,
it's been super. I think people were underwhelmed when they signed him in the first place. Like, it was surprising that he got a major league deal. He was the first free agent signing of the class, and the start of the season was a little uneasy. But he's so versatile in all the situations that he's willing to come into. And you look at his numbers overall, and they're the best in the bullpen in terms of ERA, in terms of his strikeout rate, aside from Bender. It's not that far off from Bender in terms of strikeout rate. So both Detweiler and Blyer, I think, are going to have a lot of trade interest over this next month because of how well they're pitching. Because with definitely Detweiler because he's a pending free agent again. Blyer has another year of control after this. If they want to keep him around. But I think that's going to make him even more valuable on the market. And while the Marlins might get more back for Blyer than Detweiler. And I think either way, both those guys are going to draw a lot of interest these next few weeks.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially if the Marlins just decide to sell. But if they're in that moment where we saw last year, buying and selling, some of those bullpen guys for sure would be some of the big options to trade. Oh, and by the way, if Simber was still on the roster, I would have said Simber to be the one I trust the most. He was having a pretty good year, nothing crazy, but gets traded. So yeah, and anything else, Eli, we should cover on here?
Well, I'm not gonna give any credit to this take, but more than a few people have brought this up about the idea of trading from the starting pitching depth to like reinvigorate the offense. I don't think that's realistic. I think when you're trading away a guy that is so good right now and has plenty more years until free agency, and you're trading him to a team, it's going to be a contending team that is not going to want to give you back like an impact offensive player. That the idea is if you trade him, you'll get a boatload of prospects in return. But we see that, the actual results of that are pretty dicey in terms of how those prospects actually turn into functional hitters. But I guess you guys could weigh in on that quickly. The idea, because Pablo is going tonight and he's having such a good year. And we've seen some of these other guys in the system emerge as decent starting pitchers, whether there's any thought to like considering using him as that piece that gets you some help on the offensive side.
If the Marlins are selling, which I think they could, but if they are, it wouldn't make sense to trade Pablo. It would, because if you want to, it's just blow it up. That would be the definition of selling. But if you're buying and selling, I'm not trading Pablo. I'm never going to trade Pablo. I love Pablo. He is the second, now Trevor, but he's a top 3 pitcher in this rotation. He deserves to be there. I don't think he gets traded, not in a million years, but if the Marlins want to blow it up, he's one of the first guys gone. And I know when the Marlins were losing, I said it in my brain. I was like, there's a starter the Marlins are going to trade. I don't know why, but I think it's Pablo because just doesn't have good luck on this team with the run support. Now he does, but
not only that, with Pablo, especially now with a team that's been hurt, we've been hurt by a lot injuries.
Yeah.
Pretty much essentially dismantled most of the season, and the idea of trading a top caliber pitcher in Pablo Lopez, who's top 3 obviously in our 3-man rotation, it seems. Well, now you got to add Zach Thompson, but it's kind of risky because it puts you in a position where, darn, we lost another top caliber pitcher who helps us get wins for a hitter. And yes, our offense is very inconsistent, but now you got to balance it out and say, okay, injuries and inconsistency, where does that go into play? I don't know about trading Pablo there. I'm gonna keep Pablo. Big lover for Pablo.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Great guy.
I'm keeping him. Yeah, he deserves to be on this team though. And if we remember last season, he was maybe one of the biggest pieces of that team last season,
Oh, yeah.
especially after the pandemic situation with the Marlins. Especially after that, he was the one who carried that rotation until Sandy gets integrated. Then you have Sixto coming in, so he was a huge piece of that team last season.
In my opinion, I think Pablo was. Well, I would have to look back at stats, but I think Pablo was the best pitcher in 2020 for us.
He must have been. He pitched the most games too, so he had more games to show more stats.
Yeah, I'm a big keep Pablo guy. Keep him.
I think we all are. Yeah,
Right.
Especially
just
this
acknowledge
team is
it
gonna buy.
because other people have brought it up. I acknowledge it, but I think the thing that doesn't make sense at all is the timing of it. Just because he's 3.5 years away from free agency, whatever you get for him now, you'll be able to get for him a year from now, a year and a half from now, if he's still pitching at about the same level. So there's really no reason to rush into it. And the way that Kevin was kind of explaining it, if you blow everything up, then that's kind of the move you make. But you're not going to blow everything up after 1 year after a postseason berth, and knowing that next year, especially, there's supposed to be those expectations. Like they are building something, even though it's not a straightforward path to greatness. They are still building something, and you see it at the other levels of the organization.
Yeah, for sure. They're gonna blow it up. I don't think they will, because we're not on DeLorean. Let's just remember that. So, the Marlins aren't gonna blow it up anytime soon, unless it's just a horrible, horrible season.
Who shall not be named?
Yeah.
All right, Kevin, we could go ahead, John.
As far as the blowing up thing, I don't think now is a good timing to do it, because this team is up and coming. Yes, we're what, 10 games under 500? So what? We're up and coming. This team is, I think, personally, I think the most fun month for the Marlins this year is going to be September.
It's going to be this one. It's going to be this one too.
This one? You think this one? Yeah.
This one's going to be pretty fun. They got a hard schedule. It's just going to be
They
fun.
do.
Until it plays out for the trade deadline. That's the day everyone's waiting for. It's going to be a good day or a bad day for Marlins fans.
I can't wait for September call-ups. That's my biggie right there. Going to see what prospects get up, what other guys are going to get a shot. I think it's going to be exciting.
Yeah. So you
we can go to predictions for you, Kevin.
I want to start with John. I want to see what you think about these predictions.
Oh boy. Game 1, I got the Marlins taking it. Close game, very close game. I don't know. I think it's going to be low scoring. The next game, I think we're going to take that one as well.
Is that Thompson?
I think it's Thompson, yeah.
Okay.
Because Mattingly did say that he's pushing. No, it's Sandy. I think Sandy's pitching tomorrow, because he like swapped the rotation or something. I'm not quite sure. I would have to look back at it, but I do have the Marlins taking 2 for sure.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But game 3, I think it's a loss, unfortunately.
I don't know who it's game 3. It also says to be announced, but it is Charlie Morton. I think that's their, it's going to be the firepower of their rotation, even though tonight it is Drew Smiley. Marlins take the first one. If it's Thompson or Sandy, they'll take the second one. I have no idea who's going to go to third game. I think we'll see all 3 of them at some point. So,
yeah, I got to go across the bottom line for you. That it's Sandy tomorrow and then Thompson on Sunday.
There it is. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm close to saying a sweep here, because this Braves team, I don't know, Marlins play extremely well against them.
I'd take one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a sweep. There's one game they will lose. I think it could be tonight or the third game on or tomorrow's game, which is Sandy. There's never run support for Sandy now, so
yeah.
But I'm gonna go sweep. The Marlins are lighting it up on offense as of late. Let's sweep them. Let's get the series. So yeah, guys. Eli, what are your predictions?
Well, yeah, everybody can have their own opinions. I'm surprised you're that positive. I would have the Marlins winning just one game this weekend, probably tomorrow with Sandy going. Because this offense, you said the offense is going great right now. I mean, they're coming off one amazing game. That doesn't make a trend. And what we've seen is that when they usually there are guys like Adam Duvall that stay hot for a couple games at a time, but most of these other hitters in the lineup, it's total hit or miss. Like almost. It kind of alternates games between when you get absolutely nothing and when you get something. I don't see them putting up a huge number in any of these games, except for maybe that middle game against the rookie Kyle Moeller for the Braves. Yeah, I just had them winning one game in this series. It's crucial. That's going to be disappointing. I'll point that out. I hope I'm wrong. And it's more than one, because it doesn't get much easier next week against the Dodgers and the Padres. It doesn't get. I mean, this is easily the most winnable series that they have over these next three. But so I hope to be surprised.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Marlins schedule doesn't get easier. And I think we all agreed on this on the last show. If the Marlins lose a series, it's pretty much over. The season's over for them. Just sell Marte. I mean, I would love to bring him back. Hashtag pay Marte. We should be putting that right now. But
yes, sir.
We'll see what happens for sure. Well, thank you guys for all watching. There's the pay Marte ticker. You'd love to see it. My name is Kevin Barral. We are here with John and Eli Sussman, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Go Marlins.
Go Marlins. Let's go fish.
That's a wrap, everybody.